Well, gee, I don't know, Linda. Maybe it's because you demonized them. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I am happy to have you all here with me again this week, and I promise there will be shenanigans, but I'm not playing any April Fool's jokes on you today. If you are new here and this is the first time you are seeing my face, welcome. I make weekly videos dissecting internet nonsense, so if you're into that type of thing or you like today's video, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel and make sure that you never miss another upload from me. Now listen, before we even jump into today's topic, I feel like I have to explain that I know that there's a difference between the body positivity movement and the fat liberation movement. They're their own things, they have their own goals, their own identities. We get that. But truth be told, if you've been in this space long enough, you realize that fat activists have gone ahead and hijacked the body positivity movement. And they've done such a good job that the original body positivity movement is all but lost. People don't even really understand what it is anymore without the fat liberation piece of it. And if you've been here since the beginning of the year, we have been watching body positivity, fat liberation, just fat activism in general crumble. Influencer after influencer after influencer has been coming out, saying that they're changing their diet, they're deciding to lose weight, they're now showing off workout gear and content. Even Tess Holliday went on a diet. And I remember at the time sharing with you all how surprised I was by that, the fact that I did not have that on my 2024 bingo card. But the other thing that I was wholly unprepared for and don't seem to have on my bingo card was Lizzo announcing that not only is she leaving the body positivity movement, but also she's on an intentional weight loss journey.
I am actually on an intentional weight loss journey right now.
And wait, before you start typing in the comments, listen. We have not talked about Lizzo. I have not thought about Lizzo. I don't listen to her music anymore. None of the things since she has been sued by her dancers. The only news that I ever get about Lizzo is from Emily D. Baker's channel here on YouTube, where she covers the lawsuit that is currently ongoing. So it had enough teeth that Lizzo was not able to just get that easily dismissed like it was lies. Right? And so we haven't talked about her in a while, but when a noticeably thinner Lizzo popped up on my For You page, I had to tune in. I was immediately intrigued because this is someone who we have talked about on the channel. She was so far in that she was perfectly fine making her brand based off of fatness, right? And she'll say a million times that that's not what she did, but her company is literally named like Big Girls Incorporated or something. It's literally about being big or being fat. But what we talk about is throughout the years, since Lizzo has become so popular and so mainstream with this as her brand, you can see that she's been struggling with that. But she did the thing where she trapped herself. And if she started to lose weight or change her body in any meaningful way, she would automatically be ostracized by the people and the movement that were supporting her. So for a really long time, she kept up that facade. But over the last few years, she's been slipping. It all started when she first lost a little bit of weight with that smoothie cleanse. But she made sure it was okay because she was still posting mukbang videos and a weird video where she was talking to her stomach. Then she launched a shapewear line. But don't worry, she didn't want it to be called shapewear. She was forced to call it shapewear because otherwise people wouldn't understand what she was trying to do. So she didn't do it. She was forced to do it by the industry.
Sure, Jan.
Then when things hit the fan, right around the time the lawsuit came out, she all but disappeared from the internet for a while. And when she came back, she started telling her audience she was going to be doing hot girl walks for her mental health. But don't worry, she'll never be thin.
I'm not trying to be thin. I don't ever want to be thin.
And now, in 2024, Lizzo, self-appointed queen of body positivity, is stepping away from the movement. That's the video I want to talk about today, so let's get into it and see what she has to say.
At one point, there was like a lot of shame around even wanting to talk about losing weight.
The irony of me watching this while on the treadmill. I watched that whole video and she makes some really incredible points about like how thin is in culture is almost starting to kind of cancel out the body positive movement. Where the body positive movement kind of plateaued at like pressuring people to love themselves as they are and people quietly feeling shame about that, because what if I don't actually love myself as I am right now? What if I don't think I'm beautiful? Why do I have to force that? And with those thoughts, we should have pushed the conversation forward into a more body neutral society where it was like, my body's my business, mind your business.
Now, right off the bat, I'm interested because she's blaming thin as in culture for body positivity never reaching the realm of body neutrality. It's almost as if the movement she was a part of was never looking for body neutrality. And it appears that she didn't think about that before she said this, which is interesting. But also, her definition of body neutrality is my body, mind your business, is intriguing to me because the only people who are not going to mind their business and who are actually going to judge Lizzo's body based on what she's doing are the fat activists and the body positivity people that she has been feeding into since she launched her career. They are going to view her as a traitor and they are going to tear her apart once they hear that messaging. If there are any of them left after the lawsuit, it's kind of hard to tell, but they are going to be the most detrimental people and the meanest people to Lizzo. So it's interesting to me that she thinks she's talking to thin people when we've seen time and time again, it's the opposite that are going to come for her. She continues.
I've been big my whole life and I've been doing research on bigness my whole life. And I have to say that I have found the two biggest contributing factors to weight gain or being big are not the stereotype or trope of like, oh, you're so lazy, you just sit around, like, you don't care about yourself. No, the biggest contributors are genetics, literally genetics, and the food system.
Wait, pause it, rewind it. What did she just say?
The biggest contributors are genetics.
No, not the genetics part, the other part.
And the food system.
There it is, an admission that it's the food. It's almost like people have been telling her that for years. And while I appreciate that Lizzo is attempting to talk about the food system and food injustice, because we do know that things like that exist, there are things like food deserts, those things are not relevant here at all because Lizzo has been insanely wealthy for a while. She does not have to worry about groceries. She's not worrying about the cost of inflation. So for me, this is a non-point. Even in some of my earliest videos, I pointed out the fact that fat activists often leaned into Lizzo to prove that it was 90% genetics that made them fat, right? They would be like, look at Lizzo, she's a prime example. She's dancing on stage, she's doing long rehearsals, she's moving her body so much, and she's still fat. So even if we all ate the same, we would have different bodies, right? That's their conclusion. They completely ignored the fact that she was still gorging herself on camera, and that despite being vegan, the food that she was eating was mostly takeout or highly processed junk food. And so if all of that wasn't a slap in the face enough to the fat activists that are still supporting Lizzo, then she tells us this.
I've also felt like I can't say anything because I was a part of the body positive movement and I do love my body at every single size. But for me to be like, oh guys, I'm doing this today or I'm eating this, or, you know, I would get backlash for promoting an unhealthy lifestyle or trying to shame people. And so I moved into a body neutral lifestyle and mentality and practice because I felt like being just body positive had been appropriated and had been kind of morphed into something that it wasn't in the beginning. All that being said, we should not shame each other for intentional weight loss. I am actually on an intentional weight loss journey right now.
So she's figured it out, and now she's on her own health journey. And once again, just pause to listen here for a second. I know that we enjoy being snarky on this channel. It's genuinely one of my favorite things to be, is just a snarky, sarcastic person. But I am genuinely happy for anyone out there who starts to move towards their own version of health. I don't think that that's a bad thing, and I am never going to tear into anyone for doing that, because that's what everyone should strive for. And even though I'm annoyed because she's doing that thing we always see them do, which is kind of ride the fence and waffle back and forth a little bit because they're trying to leave, but also she's trying not to alienate the audience she has left. She's kind of riding the fence of body positivity still. And the thing I do want to give her credit for, even though that's annoying, is that the people she has left, the people who are listening to her, have heard her bring some sanity to the conversation, with a few points that I was not expecting to hear. First, she doesn't quite say it outright, but she is one of the only fat celebrities leaving the movement who has talked about the complications of disorders opposite of restrictive.
I had gained an extra 50 pounds on top of the already big girl body I already had. There's nothing wrong with gaining 50 pounds, but there was something wrong with my relationship with food. The eating goes both ways, and I was eating so much, even beyond when I wasn't hungry, when I was sad, when I was stressed, when I was going through a lot, when there was darkness in my life, when I had a lack of control. I was eating food, like large amounts of food that I didn't even realize was large at the time. But when I look back and realize what I was eating, I was like, oh, and why I was eating, I was like, oh, that wasn't healthy for me.
Second, she talks about exercise and how it's good for the mind and the body, but does not necessarily affect body size the way that food does.
I also am an extremely physical person, and I have a super high physically demanding job. I have to jump up and down and dance and scream and emote on stage for 2 hours every single night. So I was always very physical. I always worked out. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about food. Because I was working out my whole life and I was still a big girl. So I never thought that those two things equated like being skinny. Like working out doesn't equate being skinny to me. I feel like working out equates being strong and good cardiovascular health. And mental health, but that's my own personal take.
And finally, the point that we keep making over and over again since all of this broke is that you can lose weight in a healthy way without becoming stick thin.
I think shaming people for wanting to take care of themselves isn't the move. And I think we're confusing sometimes people wanting to take care of themselves with disordered eating or trying to fit into the thin as in culture. Even at the end of my weight loss journey, I'm not going to be considered thin by any means. I will still be considered morbidly obese on the BMI.
2024 has broken my brain, and I just need to know, did anyone else see this coming? Because I did not. And honestly, I don't hate it. I feel like finally, we're getting to a point where there's some sanity entering the chat. Because in all the drama that's taken place since the beginning of the year, the thing that really sticks with me after talking about this now for months and months and months is that fat activists are attacking other fat women online who are choosing to lose weight. And their reason for attacking them, and the thing that they keep talking about, is how they want to lose weight so that way they'll look like everybody else. And this is an argument that just has never made sense to me, because on one hand, they will openly acknowledge, and I've heard many of them say, we could all eat the same and we would still look different. But then when it comes to weight loss, everyone's trying to look the same. These creators that they're attacking are still fat. They did not become Stepford wives overnight, and in some cases, the way Lizzo has mentioned here, it is totally 100% possible that some of these women just want to go from being a super morbidly obese status to a place where they're more comfortable and their health numbers have improved drastically, but maybe they're still technically medically fat. And the reason that this is intriguing to me is because rather than treating these people like allies, fat activists have gone out of their way to be horribly cruel to these people. These are people who can fully empathize with the fat activists and fat people online in general because they lived it. They've experienced it. But fat activists are just going after them. They're being really cruel. They're targeting their audiences. I've had a few people message me and tell me that it got so bad that they had to go and start getting mental health treatments because fat activists and their audiences were targeting them so hard. But then they have the audacity to ask these people why they're changing their content. Well, gee, I don't know, Linda. Maybe it's because you demonized them. All right, that is all I have for you all today. At this point, I'm curious to know, did you even realize Lizzo was back on the internet? Have you been watching Emily D. Baker cover the case? I need to know if there are any other law nerds in here. What do you think about Lizzo losing weight and being on an intentional weight loss journey? What do you think about the fact that she is the first person to really talk about issues that are not restrictive in nature? What do you think about her being the first person to talk about it? Yeah, being a little bit genetics, but that it also has to do with food. I did not think that we would see Lizzo bringing some sanity to the conversation, so I'm curious to know how you all feel. You always have such good opinions, so please leave them for me in the comment section down below. And for all my introvert friends out there who may not feel comfortable leaving your opinions in an internet comment section, I see you. I feel you. Go ahead and leave me some sort of, maybe like a running emoji, or how about a spaceship emoji? Because Lizzo isn't just leaving the movement, she is blasting out of it. Plus, I love seeing your emojis just as much as I love reading those opinions, so please leave them for me down below. As always, thank you all so much for being here with me this week. I will see you in the next one. Bye!